Okay, good morning, you guys. As you can tell, I already have my primer, my foundation, and I started doing my concealer, and I'm like, you know what? I want to do a video today. So I stopped blending out my concealer, and like I said, I've already primed, done the foundation, and now I'm just gonna continue to blend out my concealer. And I also just kind of wanted to, you know, talk a little bit about everything. You know, I know the world is like really crazy right now, and you know, there's just a lot going on in the world, and there's a lot going on in my life right now. You know, I've openly said that I'm in recovery, and unfortunately, you know, I had a relapse not too long ago, and you know, all I can do is just bounce back from that. Usually, you know, when I would relapse, you know, all the other times that I got sober, you know, in jail, and then I'd get out and I'd be sober for a little bit, I'd relapse, I'd be like, I'd hit the F it button again and just be like, oh well, you know, but I didn't do that this time. This time I was like, what the heck are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, this is not what you've been working for. You are trying so hard right now. Don't give up. You know what I mean? Like, this was just a little slip. This was just you know, a little slip. Bounce back and get your butt back in gear. So that's kind of like what I'm doing. Oh my God, I don't know why he left me those hickeys. Oh, he knows I hate, they're so ugly. I hate hickeys. Sorry, that was so random. But that's kind of like what I'm doing right now. Just trying to like bounce back, and you know, my boyfriend is very supportive. He is Hispanic, like I said in my previous video. He's Hispanic, and he's never really like had to deal with like addiction or, you know, anything like that. So like, I try to explain it to him the best way I know how, but I also expressed with you guys that I am on a maintenance program, and one of the main ladies who actually work there is Latina. So I think I'm gonna reach out to her and see if she can like print out some information in Spanish, so I can give it to him so he can kind of like understand it a little bit more. I'm just wiping off the Access Foundation on my hand. You know, he Googles it sometimes, and you know, we try to, hang on one second. You know, I try to explain it to him the best way I know how, but I think for him to see it like actually on paper would do some good, honestly. So I think I'm gonna look into that. But yeah, today I have to stay awake today because I woke up super early yesterday at like 5 o'clock in the morning. I had to go dose because he takes me every day to go dose in Indiana, so we have to drive 35 minutes every day, and he works in the morning, so I have to get up super early to go dose. And also, I had an over-the-phone class that I had to do also yesterday, so I had to stay awake for that. And also, I had a scheduled meeting. Why is that brush over there? I had a scheduled meeting with my counselor at 11 o'clock, but I waited up and waited and waited and waited and waited. And she was late calling me, so I passed out. I crashed. I was out. Like, I was up early, and I'm just like venting on here. I don't know if she's gonna ever see this or not, but like, you know, it's not nothing that I would not express to her, but like, she texts me this or emails me this really nasty email, and you know, is like, this is your therapeutic time, you know, you need to utilize this, you need to answer when I call, this is part of the program, da 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 da. And I'm like, okay, I get that, but she was also an hour and a half late calling me. So yeah, when, you know, like, you want all of our appointments to be on time, you want me to answer when you call, but you were an hour and a half late calling me. So yeah, I'm gonna crash out. Like, miss me with that. I was exhausted. So yeah, but I came at her, why can I not find that freaking, oh, here it is. So I came at her like a little sideways the first message that I sent her, because I was like, how are you gonna come at me like that when you're the one who was an hour and a half late calling me? You know what I mean? Like, don't get me started with that, honey. The first message that I had sent her was a little nasty. I can admit that. And then because I messaged her as soon as I had woke up at like 3 o'clock. So I messaged her. So like, I was kind of nasty as soon as I woke up, you know. And then I made my strawberry banana smoothie like I do every morning, and I smoked a cigarette, and I calmed down, and I re-messaged her, and I was like, pretty much like, I understand, you know, about the whole answering the phone when you call, this is part of the program, you know, I get all that, whoop whoop whoop, but also you was an hour and a half late calling me, so you can't expect, if you schedule a time, you know, just like she says, if I schedule a time, it needs to be that time that she scheduled. Okay, well, practice what you preach. If you schedule a time, then you need to make it that time. Like, my life does not resolve around going to the clinic and therapeutic sessions. Like, I have classes that I take 3 times a week. I have classes that I do 3 times a week over the phone. I'm about to start classes with my CPS case. I don't know if I revealed that to you guys in my first video or not, but I have an open CPS case, so I'm about to start, you know, doing classes there. I drive to Indiana now 3 times a week instead of 7 days a week, which is good. I get take-homes every other day, and then 2 take-homes on the weekend, so I don't have to drive there every freaking day, which is really good, because it, like, right now we just have his work van, and I did have a rental car. Oh my God, I paid $500 for 14 days for that car. Like, no way I can do that. Like, that is just too freaking expensive. So, we've been trying to find a car to buy here recently, but hopefully my stimulus check comes. It is scheduled to come on Monday. So, hopefully my stimulus check comes and we can go in on a car together, and it'll be so much easier for me to go back and forth to my classes that I have, and he won't have to be late for work, or, you know, like, explain to his boss slash friend, because his boss is his friend, on why, you know, he's late or whatever. So, you know, that's kind of what I totally forgot to contour my nose. So that's kind of like, you know, an everyday problem that we come across. Not every day. And it's so much easier now because I'm only going 3 days a week instead of 7 days a week. Like, I was getting, like, you have to be there for 6 weeks in order to get take-homes. For, you know, the COVID-19, it's usually longer than that. It's usually like 6 months. But because of the COVID-19, they're doing it where if you're there 6 weeks, you can get take-homes. Like I'm getting, you know, every other day and then 2 on the weekends. So I was getting that, and then all of a sudden they told me that I couldn't get them anymore, that I slipped through the cracks and got them a week early. Like, I was only there for 5 weeks and not 6 weeks. So they took me off of the take-homes, and I had to start going back every single day again, which sucked. You know, but I finally got back to, you know, to get my take-homes. But, like, seriously, when we rented this car, we had all intentions, like, that he would be going to work the whole 2 weeks that we had rented the car. No. The whole 2 weeks that we had this car, he did not work 1 freaking day. So it was pretty much, we rented that car for no reason. He did not work one day because he could have took me everywhere that I had to go. So literally, I swear to you, the day that we take the car back is the day that we need the car. So it was just like, okay, here we go. You know, this is, yes, I do my, I do my baking with a brush and not my beauty blender. Just throwing that out there. But yeah, so literally the day that we took the car back was the day that like we actually like started needing it. So it was like, oh my god, you know, this is just our luck, this is just what we need, you know. But we're dealing with it the best way we know how. And you know, it just, like last night, I could not sleep for nothing. I could not sleep for nothing to save my life. And, you know, he woke up like really kind of like aggravated this morning because, you know, he can't come back home and go back to sleep. I'm not going back to sleep early today. Like, I have to stay awake because of this situation that I'm explaining to you right now. I could not sleep for nothing, and I got this all over me. He has a hard time sleeping because every time I get up out of the bed, he wakes up. So every time I have to get up because I can't sleep, I'm going back outside to smoke because we don't smoke in the house or something, he wakes up. So he got like literally no sleep, just like me last night. So he woke up a little, you know, aggravated this morning, which I get it. I do. I really do. But then like he apologized to me because he realizes that it's not my fault. It's just, you know, it's not something that I can control, honestly. So, you know, he apologized to me, and you know, I was very grateful for that. Our communication is like on point. I swear you cannot ask for a better like relationship with the communication. Like, our communication level is like on point, and it's always been like that. You know, so today I'm going for like a light, like, you know, not like a strong contour. Like I said, this lighting sucks. Like, for real. Hopefully I can get like YouTube famous and like start getting all like the expensive stuff or whatever. But from where I'm sitting and looking into my mirror, my contour and, you know, my baking and everything is like on fleek, you know what I mean? But I don't know if like I can move it, it can like change the lighting. Oh no, that makes it look way worse. Like, I don't know how you guys can tell, but it looks really good right now. So just throwing that out there. But my lighting sucks. I'm using my freaking bedroom light. But I've always been more of like a natural look person. I've never like been too extravagant with, you know, all that. So now I'm just gonna add a tidbit of bronzer. I should have done that before I baked, but oh well. So hold on a second. I swear I just heard someone else. Okay, no, I'm tripping. No, not really. I'm not tripping. I'm sober. But yeah, I should have done this before I baked, but oh well, it'll do the job. So what? Like I said, I am new to this, so I don't even know what I'm doing. I get on here and I see I only got like 1 view, 2 views, you know what I mean? But honestly, I don't care if I get YouTube famous or not. Like, this is just relaxing to me. And I use drugstore brand makeup, like Walmart, like Fit Me, CoverGirl, Maybelline, like that whole ordeal. And I'm telling you, I can slay a look with that. So, and I see all these, like, you know, YouTubers like James Charles and what the hell is her name? Katie tutorials. I'm so sorry, Maddie, I cannot remember, but I just freaking watched her this morning and I cannot remember her freaking name. I'm so sorry if you do ever watch this. But I just watched one of her videos how you can get like a neutral glam look with cheap, affordable makeup, and she slayed it. So it's like, let me jump on this bandwagon, and I may have 1 view, 2 views, and you know what? I'm totally okay with that because I am home alone. I'm, in recovery, can't do nothing. So why not jump on the bandwagon, make a couple freaking YouTube videos, and just have fun, right? So, yeah. That's what's happening. Just throwing that out there. So I don't know for sure like what I want to do today with my eyes. I do my makeup backwards like all the time. Like always do my foundation first. I always do my layout first or whatever. And then like sometimes I'll do my eyebrows and then my eyeshadow, or sometimes I'll do my eyeshadow and then my eyebrows. Like I know like makeup gurus have like specific ways on doing it and shit, but the only thing I know is I always do my foundation first and then everything next, whether it's my eyeshadow, my eyebrows, I don't know, but yeah. So how are you guys? I don't know if I have any subscribers, maybe 3 or 4, and that's fine, but I am just sitting here rambling on, and that is okay. And once again, I am going to use this palette. It is another drugstore. It's called Profusion 12 shade eyeshadow palette. And I love this. Like I said, I've always been more of a natural person. So these have like all the natural, like nude colors in it. I do have some palettes like the other day. Like I told you, I'm a CoverGirl girl. This one's also a nude one. But I have one in here that is like a purple, bluish, like, and I get into that sometimes, you know what I mean? But I feel it depends on like what I'm feeling that day. But most of the time I use this palette, and I didn't use this one out, it actually broke, but that's fine because I never use that one anyways. But yeah, like this is my go-to palette. Obviously if I had more money I would probably get a little bit better one, but honestly the formula with this one, it blends out very well. It's very pigmented with all of the colors. Like I said, you can slay a look and get a good look with cheaper products. You don't have to spend all that ridiculous money. Like honestly, I think I paid like $10 for this palette with this brush included, and this is not a bad brush. Like this is a really good brush. It's very soft. Like yeah. So, and my brushes that I use is just like the e.l.f. brushes, the e.l.f. brushes, and then I have one Wet n Wild that I kind of like stipple in my contour once I'm finished. And then the other ones that I have are e.l.f. I just pretty much use all e.l.f. besides this one that came with the eyeshadow palette. So yeah, everything I'm telling you is like drugstore. I also use this Fit Me. I just baked my face on the spots that I use my concealer. So now I'm just going to go in and add a little bit of this again over the spots that I use my concealer. I know I just baked right there, but this kind of, just adds a little bit more to it to me, and just kind of set my whole face, I guess you could say. And I know people say not to set your eyes before, not to bake your eyes, not to set them before your eyeshadow, but I do it and it works just fine for me. So that's all that matters, right? So I think today, let's see, of course I'm just gonna go in with a basic neutral color. I'm gonna go in with this color right here, just a flat base. I also have my little mini mirror right here, so if you get like a weird reflection, that's why. Ooh, I gotta clean that. So yeah, I am just an outgoing person, and obviously very talkative. To the few little subscribers that I have, I hope you do watch me, actually. And I'm not just, you know, it doesn't matter. Even if I am just doing this to be doing this and posting these on YouTube, and I have not one person who watches these videos, you know what? That is perfectly fine with me, because I'm doing something that I enjoy. And, you know, hopefully one day I do start getting people who watch me and get to know me and my crazy personality, and I can share my story of recovery, and you know, maybe one day help someone else. I cannot sponsor anyone because I have not completed the 12 steps yet. I am in the process of doing the 12 steps. Now, once I complete the 12 steps, because I'm doing the 12 steps not with a sponsor, I'm doing them with one of my classes that I have to take for probation. So I'm not doing them with a sponsor. I mean, I guess you could technically consider her my sponsor, but you know, we just haven't said that because she's like actually a teacher for the class. But you know, honestly, I'm not quite sure what type of recovery I'm going to do once I finish this class. Like, there's like spiritual recovery, there's, you know, there's all kinds of different recoveries that you can do. Not necessarily, it doesn't have to necessarily be NA and AA. Don't get me wrong, my bag is full of the Daily Reflections, NA book, AA book, 12 Steps, 12 Traditions, like all that. I have all of that, which is amazing because it really does help. I personally, with the stories in the books, I personally relate more to the NA now as of the stories. Because I am an addict, and those stories are obviously more relatable to me than the stories in the AA books. But I love going to AA meetings. Some of them are very open to having non-alcoholics there, but they just prefer you to announce yourself as an alcoholic, and that's not some kind of something that I'm down for, even though they say like you can't drink either because that's going to lead to you eventually going back to drugs, to, you know, whatever. Everyone has their own recovery, everyone has their own story. Like right now, I'm sober. Even though I am on a maintenance program, I am sober. I don't care what anyone says. I am not sticking a needle in my arm. I don't know if you guys can see, but I'm in a robe. But I have track marks. You know, I have terrible track marks to show, you know, I'm definitely going to get these all covered up. I'm not sure how good, like, the camera is showing these track marks right now, but, I have a lot of track marks up and down my arms. I don't, know how good you can see them on this camera, but, you know, I definitely am a recovering addict, and that's not something that I'm ashamed of. What I was ashamed of is that I was an addict who was not getting help. That was something that I was ashamed of. So that's why I would never admit that I was an addict until I got arrested this last time in January, and I knew that I was done. I knew that I have a 5-month-old daughter now. I have a 3-year-old son. He'll be 3 this month, actually, and it's like these 9 years have just flown by, and I've done nothing with my life besides throw it to shit. And it was like, you know, when I got out of jail, it was like, this is it, I'm done. I deserve better than this. My kids deserve better than this. I can have a better life. And so, you know, as I've said before, I relapsed. Drinking my smoothie. As I've said before, I didn't want that to be part of my story, part of my recovery story, but unfortunately it is. There's nothing that I can do about it. It happened. Oh well, pick yourself up and try again, right? Like, that's literally all that I can do. I have to put my mirror in here, sorry. But that's like literally all that I can do, honestly. And if I, like I said, when I had relapsed the previous times, you know, when I had attempted to get sober, I was just like, F it, that F it button. If you're familiar with recovery and all that and sobriety and stuff, we have this thing called the F it button. And that F it button was just huge, and I just pushed it. And I gave up. I kept using. I did not care. You know, and like I said in my previous video, you guys will definitely get to know a lot more about me, but when I say that I've been through some stuff, I have, and I know other people have too. God, I know that there's people out there who's had it worse than me. Trust and believe me, I know that. You know, I'm not saying that, oh, pity party for me because I put myself in a bad situation and I had a bad life because I'm an addict. No, none whatsoever. So please don't take it like that. I'm just saying, like, I've had some rough stuff happen. Even stuff that wasn't, like, in my control. Stuff happened to me when I was a kid. You know, my parents were addicts my whole life. So that's all I seen growing up was my parents shooting up and overdosing and getting high. And, you know, it was just a really hard experience to go through as a kid. You know, like, me and my two older brothers are, like, watching my mom overdose in the living room and my dad, like, right there behind her overdosing in the bedroom. And we're all close in age, so, you know, my brother was probably, like, 9 at the time, probably my oldest brother. So we're having to, like, call 911 saying both of our parents are, like, overdosed, we believe. Well, we said dead because we were kids. But you know, we told them, you know, both of our parents are dead, they're purple, we believe that they took drugs. You know, and my dad actually hadn't overdosed yet, but he was like, I can't believe he hadn't yet. So my mom did, and she was laying in the living room floor. I remember like it was yesterday. She was laying in the living room floor, purple, and my dad was so high, he could not register that my mom was overdosed, and all he could do was scream and slap her in the face. Like, you know, most people, like, as an adult, I know you would do, lean their head back, see if they're breathing. If they have a pulse, then don't do CPR. If they do have a pulse, don't do CPR, just do the breathing. If they don't have a pulse, then do the CPR. You know what I'm saying? Like, my dad did not even register to do none of that. All he was doing was screaming her name and slapping her in the face. Like, that's why I said I'm surprised he hadn't overdosed yet. He was so high. But so we get to the hospital, whatever, boom, my dad overdoses in the hospital as we're there for my mom overdosing in the house. So my mom and dad wake up, they put them in the same room, And this was, you know, back in the day when you could go doctor shopping and get whatever pain pills you wanted. And my dad shook his pockets. My mom was laying in the next bed. My dad shook his pockets. He still had both bottles of his pills on him. And my mom said, give me some. He threw the bottle to my mom. She popped 2 more. My dad popped 2 more. They overdosed again in the hospital. And yeah, it was just a bad experience, and I don't want to say that like almost was like inevitable for all 3 of their kids to become addicts, but because like the only normalcy that I seen was from my grandmother. And I mean, I see normalcy from my grandmother, my dad's mom. Like, she helped raise us pretty much, like, you know, because my parents were always fucked up and, you know, everything like that. Like, but she still allowed my parents to be there when they wasn't allowed to be. So we still seen them fucked up, and we still seen them high, and you know what I'm saying? But I call her Nana, it's my mom's mom. She, like, was, you know, she didn't do drugs. She would come get me every Sunday to take me to church with her. And, you know, she tried to show me the most normalcy, the most, like, she knew how bad it was at home, you know what I mean? So, she tried to show me normalcy of life. And then, eventually, my parents lost custody of us. And then, like I said, my grandmother, my dad's mom, helped raise us pretty much. But my dad was still there. My mom was still allowed to come, but she just left and dipped off with this guy to Florida. So I didn't really see her that much. So my dad was still around, still getting high. So, you know, we still seen him high, and, you know, it was still the same stuff that we had experienced, you know, when they had custody of it. So, you know, nothing was really different. And then my grandmother just couldn't handle me and my brother anymore, more so my brother than me, because he was more of like a, I don't want to say like hybrid, like he was like ADHD, and he, you know, like he was just a lot more difficult to handle. He had like anger problems and stuff growing up. So we got put into the state's custody, and we went to actual foster care. So we went to foster care, like a state custody foster care, for about, like, I want to say like a month or 2. And the guy actually beat the shit out of my brother. So, okay, so let me rewind. We went to state's foster care when my parents lost custody of us. So, hang on, I'm sorry, I just got really confused. We went to the state's foster care, yeah, when my parents lost custody of us. And then, like, we was back and forth from living with my parents to my grandmother. So then we went to the state's foster care when my parents lost custody of us or whatever. We tried to go to my grandmother, but there was this big old thing about something with Xanax. Like, it was just, so we couldn't go with her. So we went to the state's custody. Well, we was there for about a month and a half, and the guy, the father, literally beat the shit out of my brother. So then eventually, when that night that incident occurred, we went to my grandmother's house. And from there on, she had custody of us for 4 to 5 years. And then she could not handle, like I said, my brother anymore. So we got put back into foster care. And this time it wasn't with the state. It was like a therapeutic foster home. So, I mean, I don't know if you guys know the difference between that, but like being in state care and being in like a therapeutic foster home is totally different. Like state care, they'll put you anywhere, they don't care. Like it's so much worse when you're in like state foster homes. But we was in a therapeutic foster home, and thankfully where we got sent out, I had 2 cousins that lived out there, and it was actually in Mount Washington. And I had 2 cousins that lived out there, and we were going to go to the same school and everything. So I was like, okay, this isn't going to be too bad. You know, of course, we're getting taken away from my grandmother. We're getting taken away from our dad again and our mom again. But, you know, our cousins will be out there, so it won't be so bad, you know. So, I mean, it wasn't. The first foster home that me and my brother first went to, my brother had a lot of problems because the mom was just very controlling, and she just was like, I don't know, like, I don't even know how to explain her. I'm not going to use any names for the foster parents just for confidentiality purposes, but, you know, she knew that we had nothing growing up, so she tried to buy me with, like, material stuff, pretty much. And, like, you know, I was like, oh my gosh, American Eagle, oh my gosh, Aeropostale, like, what? I was used to shopping at Walmart and, you know what I mean, like, going to Shoe Carnival for my shoes for school, you know what I mean? Like, I did not have a good, you know, life growing up, which I was grateful. I've always been grateful for everything, you know what I'm saying? I've always been grateful for when my grandmother had custody of us and she tried, you know what I mean? I've always been grateful for the small things and for the big things that, you know, like when, I don't know if you guys know about this, but, you know, Ford, I don't even know if they still do it now, but back in the day, they used to, do like Christmas for like kids in foster homes, and you could go to the actual Ford company and do a tour of the Ford company, and then at the end of it they would give you a shit ton of Christmas presents, like brand new bikes and brand new clothes, and like I was so appreciative of that, even though like it didn't come from my parents. Like I was still grateful for that, you know what I mean? Because people put the time and effort and the money into kids who was like me to have a good Christmas, you know what I mean? So I've always been grateful for everything. What is going on with me today? I swear I just heard my front door shut. I'm not liking this. Like, I feel like I am like tripping, but I am like not on no drugs. I don't know what's going on with me today. I swear. Oh, it might have been my heater shutting off. Sorry, I've been on here for 37 minutes just rambling on about my life. But that's what I want you guys to get to know me and, like, you know, get to know my personality and, like, you know, kind of what I've been through or whatever. But this I could consider was, like, part 1 because there's so much more to my story. But, yeah, we went to foster care, the first foster home. My brother had a lot of problems with the foster mom there, so we eventually got split up. He went to a different foster home, and then a different foster home, and a different foster home, and then he went with my foster parent, the original foster parents, with my foster dad's sister and her husband. And they lived right down the street. So that, like, just immediately was like, well, my brother's right down there. I'm out. It took me like 2 years, a year and a half, to realize that the foster mom was, like, just in it for the money. And she kept trying to tell me she loves me like her daughter and, you know, all that. But, you know, when I found out that my brother was, like, right down the street from me, I was like, yeah, I'm going down there. And it caused a huge conflict because my previous foster parents was my new foster parents' like brother. So it was just like a big old mess there for a while. But me and my brother eventually got reunited, and we got to live together again. And he turned 18. Let me see what this looks like. He turned 18, obviously before me. He's older, but that would be a pretty highlighter, actually. Sorry, I'm just thinking that would be, you can't even see it because of my crappy ass lighting, but it's a color that I have right here. Like, this would be a pretty highlighter, I feel like. Let me just go over it one more time. That would be a pretty highlighter, but yeah, or like the corner. But yeah, so it took me about a year and a half to get down there, you know. But throughout this process, my brother was like traveling from foster home to foster home. He wasn't down there this whole time. He was like going from different home to different home. And then, like I said, eventually he got down there. And I ran away from my foster home because I was just so miserable. And like the foster mom, I started seeing her for like what she really was, and she was just in it for the money, and she was just so like mean and rude, and you know, so I started running away. And you know, my social side, I went obviously straight down there to where my brother was at, and I told my social worker, I was like, I don't want to go back. I'm not going back down there. So they was like, well, I think you should at least go and like try to talk to him. I was like, I'll go and talk to him, but I'm not going back to live down there. Like, I'm not doing it. So that was approved for me to get moved out of there or whatever. But because it was so close to where my new foster home was going to be at, and they were relatives, I had to go to a temporary foster home for about 2 weeks, because it was family it was just a big old chaotic mess. So anyways, I went to the family for like 2 weeks, got approved to move in with my brother. I was super excited because that was like my ride or die, my homie. Like, we were, you know what I mean? Like, all the stuff that we had been through. And at this time, my older brother is actually down in Litchfield, Paducah, with his biological father. He's only my half brother. So this whole time all this is going on, I am only with my middle brother, Sammy. My other brother is out in Paducah because my grandmother couldn't get custody of him because he had a different last name. And, you know, that's just how when he went with his biological father. So, you know, this whole time that all this is going on, it's only me and my brother, Sammy. So that's where the connection bonded us more. And, like, you know, always growing up, even when my grandma had custody of us, me and Sammy was close. Because my brother Tony wasn't there. Tony went down with his biological father when I was about 9 years old, because that's when my parents lost custody of it. Well, I'm going to say about 12. So from 12 to 18, I hardly ever seen Tony because he was down in Litchfield with his biological father, you know, which we've all that. So I don't know why I'm skipping to my eyebrows, but anyways, yeah, so we I have to clean off like everything that comes out of my makeup bag because there's a pencil eyeliner in there open somewhere, and I just cleaned this out the other day and it gets all over everything, so I have to wipe off everything when I take it out. But anyways, so yeah, we didn't get to see each other for a very long time because he went down to his biological father. So like I said, this whole entire time, my brother Sammy is the one who's with me, like riding this whole thing out with me or whatever. So we eventually get back reunited, and he starts rebelling. And 2 weeks before he turns 18, they just really, because he keeps running away and going to my grandmother's house. So 2 weeks before he turns 18, they just go ahead and release him to my grandmother's custody. So I was like, okay, whatever. You know, I was really upset, but because they offered me a great program. I told you guys about this in my first video. They paid for my apartment. They paid for my school. I went to college for 2 years for psychology. I had a part-time job. I was doing really good. And this program that also works with the state did all that for me. They furnished a full apartment for me. It was a 1-bedroom. I mean, it was perfect for me, and it would have been perfect for my brother. But he just wanted to go back home to my grandmother. So that's what he did. And unfortunately, in January of 2010 or January 2011, I can't remember exactly, an incident happened where my brother went to prison for, he only actually did 8.5 years in prison, but he got a 20-year sentence. And he is currently walking the rest down on parole. And my other brother, that's a whole other story. He also went to prison for 5.5 years. They were bunkies at one time because they had 2 different last names. So like I said, my life could literally be a movie, and I would love for it to be a movie one day, especially throughout all this, the addiction also, and to come out at the end of all of this with me using with my mom, me using with my dad, and situation with my kids, and at the end of the movie or at the end of the book, all of us be sober. And it would just, I know people would be in tears throughout the movie. For one, from the emotional part of just seeing what a human can actually go through, and for 2, it's very emotional to see that at the end of it, my brothers are sober, I'm sober, my dad is in recovery, and hopefully my mom is also sober. But I haven't really talked to her much. She's tried to reach out to me a few times, but I haven't answered because I just don't think it's healthy right now for me. So I have not answered the phone calls. But yeah, I have not even begun to finish my makeup, and I'm already at 46 minutes. I don't know how to edit these videos. So I'm just going to end this video right now. I'm so sorry because I don't even have my makeup completely done. Like, I've just been sitting here blabbing, and I'm sorry about that. But this was like story time. So, God, I hate this lighting in here. It's so terrible. I mean, my eyeshadow and my base looks really good. So I wish I could get like some good lighting so you can like see it, you know what I mean? But this lighting just is like, does not show nothing. Like, you can see like my little contour and like, you know, the little, but I have to do my brows, do my wing, do my waterline, do my lashes, and do my highlighter, and do my setting spray, and put my piercings back in. So this video is way too long. Sorry about that, you guys. I have a tendency of rambling on, but that is also for you guys to get to know me and me get to know you. Ooh, this light isn't that bad right there. Like, I'm thinking about making an Instagram account. Because once I got out of jail in 2018, I did not go back to any social medias. I have like 6 Facebook pages, but I have no access to all of them. I don't remember none of the passwords. But I'm thinking about remaking a Facebook and remaking a Instagram account because, you know what? It is what it is. And I am a new person, a new changed person. So anyone who doubted me in the past, you can kiss my rear end. Honestly. But once again, I'm shutting this video down because it's taking way too long and I don't know how to edit. So anyone who watches this, can you please inform me on how to edit videos? Because I'm just new to this. All I do is just grab my phone, I have a YouTube account, and just hit record to start a channel. So that's how mine works. And yeah, it's not the best. And I really want to get my story out there about recovery. I want to share that, and I want to share the makeup, and my hair is wet right now, but I just want people to see my life in recovery, and I want to share my story about you know, in recovery, they say where you were, where you're at, and where you're going. And I just want to share that. I know I haven't completed the 12 steps yet, and they say you have to complete the 12 steps yet before you can do that. But you know what? I'm ready to share my story about what the hell I've been through in my past, the dirty, grimy, raw shit that I've experienced with myself and my family, and through this addiction, and how deep it can take you, because that is something that is not talked about. All these people, all these young people are freaking dying because of this addiction, and it's not talked about the raw way that it is. And people who aren't addicts look at us like we're trash, and you know, it just, I wish I could change the mentality and the thought process of a lot of people, but that's not possible. So all I want to do is just get on here, ramble on about some random ass shit, do my makeup, slay some makeup with some drugstore brand shit, and hopefully touch someone who is going through something, or has someone who is experiencing addiction. And I know I broke a nail earlier, but you know, I just want to help. I just want to help, because I know how hard it is to change your life, and especially when you're addicted to heroin. I know how hard it is, trust me. And in story time number 2, I will continue the story and continue to tell you guys about my life, and hopefully we get to know each other, and I'm not just gonna keep talking to myself and putting these videos up. I would like to get subscribers, so please subscribe, share, follow, like these videos, and just kind of get me out there, because I feel like I have a message to share that can help so many people. So thank you guys once again for listening to me ramble on for 51 minutes. You guys have a beautiful day, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Bye.